Hello, everyone. Masterclass 1 for 2023. I just want to take a moment to first welcome everyone and say Happy New Year. Obviously, in amazing theme and fashion, we have a topic so relevant to what is going on right now. And we are actually just patching in our special guest and expert speaker, David Lawrence. In the meantime, I am going to do some intros and just really speak to the essence of the masterclass. If you're new to the Designs for Sport Academy and our group of education and education content, then let me explain really what our goal here is with the masterclass. I'll do a brief intro for Dave, and then we'll get going. So again, my name is Melissa Arachi. I'm one of the sports nutrition specialists with Designs for Sport, and your host today for our masterclass with David Lawrence. The idea of our masterclasses is really to highlight experts in the industry to speak on topics relevant to all things fitness, performance, nutrition, and mindset, so that you can connect with people in your community, perhaps other colleagues, and then also have your questions answered by these experts. And today, our expert is absolutely that. The topic for today is making 2023 your year. And I understand that, there's a lot of coaches on the call right now, and there's a lot of individuals that work with people through this New Year's resolution phase, right? And we've all experienced this, and we've perhaps also set goals or resolutions ourselves. And you might feel one way or another about the terminology, a goal, a New Year's goal or a New Year's resolution. And I can say this personally, having done an exercise with David at an amazing event that we did at one of his Mecca locations in Michigan. This is very different than your typical resolution that, unfortunately gets set and typically ends up getting put away on a shelf sometime at February 1. These are really going to be questions and activities to dig deeper, to understand more about yourself and how you can actually grow your business in alignment to the person that you are. So that's really exciting for me. A quick intro for Dave, and then we can get ourselves started. So David Lawrence, where do you start with David? He is one of America's top strength coaches, that is without question. In the last decade, he has trained athletes across 30 plus sports. In addition to owning Mecca, which stands for Michigan Elite Conditioning for Athletes, which actually he has grown to 4 locations, very soon to be 5 locations. David has over 40 staff members. He is widely known for his work with the NFL and his timely body composition transformations. If you don't follow Mecca Strong on Instagram already, the transformations are incredible, so definitely check those out. His ability to transform athletes while also improving speed and field performance is what sets David apart from his competition. For this reason, many athletes that have trained with David have signed record contracts after just one off season. Currently, David has been able to work with more than a half dozen players that have won the Super Bowl. His work has been recognized in many major media outlets, and that includes Sports Illustrated, ESPN, The Athlete, the Detroit Free Press, Bigger, Faster, Stronger magazine. David is highly sought after for a consultant and has also spoken internationally with many of the tops, including Sports Performance and Business. So that's a little bit on David. We are really just working to get him patched in here so we can get going. And then the only other thing that I'll say is we, as always, are going to really encourage a lot of participation, communication, chatting, and questions, both during and after the presentation. If you know David, you know that he is super kind and has always been able to answer those questions and provide some really great value. So please use the chat box. This is your moment to get, one-on-one with such an amazing strength coach and business owner. So please use the chat box. I will be monitoring the chat box, and we will be sure to get through hopefully all, if not a vast majority of questions, and we will leave adequate amounts of room at the end of our presentation in order to do that. So I am going to check in and make sure that all is going well with getting Dave set up. In the meantime, what I will say is that a really great opportunity to check out previous masterclasses can be found on our YouTube page, as well as through our Instagram profile. You'll be able to click. Of course, the website has links to all of the previous masterclasses that we have done on a variety of topics, like I said, that cover things like nutrition, an athlete or championship mindset, to program design. So please feel free to check out any and all of those. I do see that David has been added, so yay, we'll get his camera on. I am going to turn my camera off, and like I said, I will be behind the scenes monitoring that chat box and looking forward to all of your questions, and we will get to those at the end of the talk.
Okay.
Hello, Dave. Welcome.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you great. And just to give you an update, I did a little bit of an intro. We gave your bio. The floor is entirely open, so you can get going as soon as we have camera, audio, video, and all of that locked in.
Okay. I'm just accessing the camera. All right. There we go. Oh. All right.
Hello.
Hi, guys. What's going on? So, all right. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Audio is awesome, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. That was weird. All right, guys. So, really excited for everybody on the call. I really appreciate it. So, one of the biggest things that most people really struggle with is setting goals, and not setting goals, but achieving goals and achieving your outcomes. So basically today, it's really cool. Designs for Sport wanted me to share a lot of the things that I've done, some of the reflection that I've had, and basically how I set and try to attain goals. And I am definitely not like perfect. I went back in my goals last year, and I only achieved about 30% of all of my goals. And that might surprise like a lot of people. It's like, hey, not like a really, really good year. One of my heroes, and a guy I really like a lot, his name is Tim Ferriss. And he says a really good year for him is if he can achieve 33% of his goals, because some goals end up dropping off, and some goals don't become a priority anymore. And so really what I want to do today is kind of deconstruct the process of goal setting and really give a roadmap of how I set goals. I've hired so many different business mentors in my career as in business and as a coach, and I want to like distill and pass down a lot of the information that I've learned from them, and hopefully that can help you, especially this new year. So first, like, a goal is really a dream. Okay, it's a dream. It's something that you really want to accomplish, but with a time set to when the outcome is going to happen. So most of us in society, we're very quote unquote goal oriented, but none of us dream. And it's important to dream. It's important to reflect. It's important to relax. And what I'm really going to share today is most people don't take the time to get bored and let their mind wander. one of a really good book is kind of an autobiography about Jeff Bezos in Amazon, and the title is called Invent and Wander. And if you look at a lot of amazing inventors, a lot of great thinkers, some of like the heroes and the saints, they were deep thinkers, and they took time away from the world. A lot of like the best people that we've looked up to are, they take a lot of time in silence and they take a lot of time reflecting. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Mark Twain, who's a famous author, right? And he says, "I don't trust people who don't take walks." So I love that quote. I think it's fantastic. When you walk, you are able to like disconnect. So really, in setting goals, okay, number one, when you set goals, most people set goals that are really honestly too short in duration. And the problem with that is most people are too ADD. They have this goal and they want to accomplish this thing and they saw their friend do that, but it really isn't that important to them, or it's not that impactful to them. And so that's why they don't achieve those goals. So when you're setting goals, really what you need to have behind those goals is you have to have a vision or your mighty mission for your life. And most people don't have that. They don't have like values. And before you can set a goal, you have to have values and you have to have a vision for what you want your life to look like. Does this make sense? Okay. And why, and this is getting a little philosophical or maybe a little spiritual, but why are you here on this earth? What is the purpose of your life? I'm reading, I have by my bed, I'm a very religious person. I have in my bed Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and he talks about the shortness of life, and it's really, really good and impactful. But most people don't have, they don't take time to reflect, and they don't take time to think, what is living a good life for you? And it's usually the opposite of what society tells you to do. And with social media and with like Facebook and Instagram, we're getting so much dopamine addiction, or addicted to distraction. And what that does is that makes us a bit ADD. It makes us hyper focused. In really, like in life, if you really want to live a life that you can be proud of, to be honest, you have to retreat from that, and you have to reflect, and you have to have values and set goals and have a vision for what's important to you, which is not, it's going to be different for me, and it's going to be much different from what society tells you. Okay, society is mostly trying to get us to consume, 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 and most of us, that's the last thing that we need. Most of us consume because we're not happy with ourselves, and they think that we have a void in our life, okay, and we haven't done the, we call it like the deep work necessary. You have a void in your life, and so you fill it with things instead of filling it with values and relationships, okay? So my biggest thing, like write this down right now, is what is your vision for your life, and what's your mighty mission, and why are you here, okay? And you need to get clear on that. And if you're not clear on that, work a job that you like, work any job, do like, it could be becoming, the best personal trainer in a certain location, or it could be, have, XYZ, whatever it is. But you really want to take the time and set aside and figure out, what's the vision for your life and why are you here? Once you can figure that out, you stop wasting time. And you can figure out, like in your life, what's the mountain that you want to climb. And I was always pretty clear at an early age what was important to me. And I had a very good upbringing. I had good parents that loved each other. I had a very good social structure. So that saved me a lot of time, because that work was done in my family when I was growing up. And so you figure out what's your mountain that you want to climb, because I love this quote: what's the point of climbing the highest mountain if when you reach the top you found it was the wrong mountain to climb? Okay? And so many people are chasing things, or they're chasing stuff, or they're chasing approval from people that maybe don't even care about you. All right? And I know it's a bit of a speech, but I'm really passionate about it, and I think it can add value. You have to be clear on your why, and you have to be clear on where you're headed. And if you're not, that's so good. That's okay. A lot of, the most interesting people I've met are still trying to figure that out in their 40s or their 50s. Okay. But take the time to figure that out. Okay. Most people don't dream enough. People don't relax enough. And it's so important to do that. So the next thing in terms, let's see here. So I think I've gone in, I had a lot of, quotes on that, but I think I've gone into that probably enough. And so the next thing is, when you decide on what you're going to do, okay, then the next challenge comes, okay, and that's really doing the deep work. And I have a great story about a former client that I had, and this is why, like, it's really important to have your own vision and your own goals and what's important to you. So this guy that I know, he owns a real estate company, and he didn't figure out really what he wanted to do until he was about 45 or 50. But this is what he did. It took him 20 years to decide in life. He said he wanted a physically easy job. Okay, so he didn't want to be on his feet. He wanted a job that was a great vehicle to make money. He wanted time to spend with his kids, and he wanted to travel 8 to 12 weeks a year. And he wanted to drive a new car every 2 years. This was his list. And he wanted to go out to lunch every day. He didn't want to cook his own food. Okay, so he hired us because he was fat as a personal trainer. So we ended up hiring us, but he became a real estate agent and started a real estate company that's very, very successful. But those were his big 5, 6 things that were important to him in his life. Now, that's not what I would have chose, but that was really important to him. He didn't want to cook his own food, and he wanted to drive a new car every 2 years. And so the point is like, it can, really be anything. I have quite a few friends that are Catholic priests, and they've decided to live their life much differently, away from the world. Okay, I have friends that are monks that live in solitude. I have 2 good friends, and they are completely separated from the world, and they live a life of completely of the interior life. And I have 5 kids, and my wife always, when she gets frustrated, she's like, I should have been a nun. So it's kind of funny, but everybody, like, and those guys are so happy. They're living such a fulfilled life because they're living their mighty mission, and they're doing what they feel called to do, not what the world calls them to do. So it can be everything. The biggest, so the next thing I want to talk about when you're setting goals, and it's setting them with a timeline attached to them. And most people think a timeline is negative, but when you have a mighty mission or a dream or a really good vision of what you're supposed to do, okay, time becomes your greatest asset, because so many people are focused on survival, okay, and it's really an illusion. We live in America, so like a lot of our basic necessities are really taken care of for us, or we live in North America, or if we're on this call, we're living in a pretty decent society, right? So we create these illusions, right, of scarcity and urgency. And too many people that I see self-sabotage, and they don't have a long enough, they don't have a good, clear vision for what they're supposed to do in their life. And that, and then they bounce from goal to goal to goal. And instead of making time an asset for them, their timeline horizon is too short. And so it becomes like a big negative, and it causes a lot of stress and anxiety. So time for me is my greatest asset. And I'll get a bit vulnerable with you, a bit, called A Bit Naked, right? There's a good book called Getting Naked. You should read it. but it's about honesty and opening up. I'll do that, but time for me is my greatest asset because I became a personal trainer and a strength coach in 2009. And one of my biggest goals, or what's one of the 5 things that's most important to me, is craft. I want to be excellent in my craft, BIW, right? Best in the world in craft. Like that's something I'm chasing, right? I'm chasing it for myself because being good in your work is really important. In pushing out excellence into the world is really important to me. Yeah, that's something that's really important. So my timeline horizon, I knew that when I started in 2009, and that's when I could start like hiring good mentors. And it wasn't to get XYZ amount of money. It wasn't to, drive a certain car. That was craft and being great. And so that really led to the jobs that I chased, the career that I chased, the mentors that I brought into my life. And so I've been doing it almost like 14 years now, which isn't that long. But what I saw is like a lot of my friends early on jumped from job to job to job to job, and they didn't really know what they wanted to do, which is fine. No worries at all with that. But because I knew what I wanted to do earlier, I could start building out. Time became an asset for me because it takes time to develop skills. And the first 10 years of my career, I did about 27,000 hours of personal training. Well, I've heard that you get 10,000 hours to become an expert. I think it took me a little longer than 10,000 hours, but the amount of work that is needed to be accomplished was a lot for me in order to get skilled, and it's really paid a lot of dividends for me. So instead of time and being like a liability for me, because I had a long timeline horizon, my goal wasn't 10 years, it wasn't 20 years. My goal is my career, to be a great coach and a personal trainer. I'm not trying to bounce from industry to industry or job to job. I've got 14 years, but I know I can't wait for the next 14. Does that make sense? And so when you have a clear vision and you have a clear goals earlier on, it gives you more leverage. And so getting vulnerable, 2022 was one of the worst years of my life, like not even close. There was a tremendous amount of tragedy. I lost a really, really good friend in a tragic death. My wife, it was one of my wife's best friends. She ended up having issues and like mental health issues, where it was. So I was, and I had just made a kind of a dream purchase or acquisition or whatever you want to call it. And it was really supposed to be my time to work and be productive and produce. And because of life situations and life circumstances, that just wasn't going to happen. I have 5 kids, a newborn, and my wife is really struggling. So I had a bad year, like a bad year in terms of like work and craft and being productive and growing my business. However, because I have a longer timeline horizon and I've got these last 13 years, it's not as devastating for me. Like, because I know, hey, it's only, and I'm going to be able to keep growing. It's just part of the process. That's something that I've only recently learned, probably in the last well, I knew it early on, but I've really grasped that concept in the last couple years. And so whatever you're chasing after, it could be to be like a great dad. It could be to be like a great like volunteer in your community. It really could be whatever. I'm just telling you what are some of the things that are important to me. Like I want to be a world-class dad. I want my kids to enjoy the time that they're around me. I want my kids to feel loved more than anything. And I want my kids to be fearless, decisive, and aggressive in their life. Like I want them to pursue their goals and have passions and pursue their dreams. I don't want them to live a life like society tells them to live. So part of that is being a good dad and instilling the right values in them so they can be fearless. They can be aggressive. They don't have to take the time to repair damage that I might have done to them, right? So like it could be whatever, like make sure you have your goals and your vision, what you want, and then you can execute on them and work on them every day. And again, I've got probably 18 years with most of my kids here. They don't leave me sooner than that. And even if I have a bad day as a father, I can rebound and try to be better the next day, if this makes sense. So, so the time is so important because most people set the wrong goals that don't align with their deepest values. And they don't have that clear and decisive idea or thought or vision for their life again. And so many people are so checked out and so ADD, and they can't focus for long periods of time because they're unhappy internally. Okay. And so that is the way you get real traction towards your goals, is making sure that you're chasing the right goals. And chasing the right goals, again, comes back to having the same vision. And I keep saying that over and over again, because in order for people to get things, you have to hear it a certain amount of times. In my company, I'm not the CEO, I'm the CRO, the Chief Reminding Officer. And like, why are we here in business? What are we doing? And people need to hear the same message over and over and over again. Does this make sense? So sorry if I repeat myself, it's on purpose. Okay. All right. So have your mighty mission. And then the next thing is really your deep values. Having deep values that are who you are and what drive you forward and how you want to live your life. And this helps you chase your goals in a very whole and integral way. So again, I'll go through mine. So like I would say love is my deepest value for people. I absolutely love people. So love is my greatest gift. It was always in me. And when my father passed away 2.5 years ago, it really infused my purpose on this life and the shortness of life. I don't know if any of you have lost a parent, especially a father. It really, I know as a man, it really is like, oh my gosh, there's nobody coming here to save me anymore. Even though I'd been on my own for a long time and have my kids, having your dad that you always look up to is having that man in your life that you always look up to, who's mentored you, and losing him is very devastating for a lot of people. But what it does is it really calls you to step up and say, okay, there's really nobody else now. Now you have to go and kind of carry the torch, and your life will be called upon next. And we don't know how much time we have, and that's why I love the idea in the book of like the shortness, the meditations on the shortness of life. So my job is to love people and to bring joy into their life. That's what's inside me. That's one of my gifts. And that's something I work to cultivate every single day in my life and the relationships around me. I just love people, and I want to help other people have the confidence that I was given. All right. And so that brings me to like my 4 or 5 deep values that really have to drive you. I think, and these are different for everybody, but I'll share you my 4 or 5 deep values. Okay. So my deep values are: number 1, love of God and neighbor. Okay. Neighbor is like all of you. Okay. It's all of friends, family, and everybody in this world. I think love is the strongest force in this world, and most people don't feel loved. And so that's one of the things that I feel like is part of my mighty mission, is to love other people. My second deep value is hard work and focused work. Okay. Like hard work for me is focused work. It's being attentive and doing what I'm supposed to do at the right time. And most people don't do that. The next one is joy. Okay. In being happy. The fourth one is competitive. I think that's like that's a big value for me. It's the juice for me. It's being competitive yourself. And if you see someone else do something awesome, you want to do that too. You're like, why can they do it and I can't do it, right? And the last one is be the most present person in the room. So I think one of the most valuable things that you could give anybody is your attention and your presence, whether it's your children, your spouse, your client. your friends and family, whatever it is, being the most present person in the room. How many of you know somebody that is always on their phone and they're like locked and they're always checked out? Those people don't have very deep relationships. Those people usually don't have a high self-esteem. And those people usually are missing something. And so one of the things that we have to work on in society is being present for each other and having good interpersonal connection. And so be the most present person in the room. That's like something important to me. So I encourage everybody that's listening to do that too. And so those are my 4 or 5 values that really guide my life and how I act and how I approach each day, and what I want to think about myself and what I want other people to think about me. And when I don't live up to these, I'm very, very average. Okay, I'm very average in life. And this is what holds me accountable to my actions, and do my actions back up my values? I'm going to say that again. Having your values holds, okay, this is what holds me to my actions, and do my actions back up my values? All right. So you could have, there's other, other values. Some people think that being decisive is like a value. Some people think that being patient is like a value, especially if you're a if you're a parent. Some people think that adventure is a great value, or learning or traveling. That's a great value to have. So those, I just shared you mine, but really think about what's important for you and how you want to live your life. And I know a lot of people every day being a lifelong learner is a deep value. Okay. So and when you have those, you have like such like steam and force behind all of your work every single day. You really feel like you're driving towards your goal, and you really feel like you're living out your mighty mission when those values back you up. Okay. So goals, my goals, used to be 1-year goals. My goals have all turned into 3 or 5 or 10-year goals. They're longer in life goals. I have a longer timeline horizon, and I have so I have, those are big macro goals, and then I have one goal for the year in every category. I have a spiritual goal, I have a physical goal, I have a business goal, I have a personal development goal, and I have a goal for my family. So those are like my 5 areas where I have like 2023, and I just have one goal for each that I want to accomplish this year. And I used to have more, like I said, but a lot of those goals were really about developing habits, and I've developed those habits. So now they're just SOP, standard operating procedure for me. And I'll talk about those too. So, so talking about some of those, some of those habits that used to be goals, it's like a morning routine and an evening routine. How do you start your day? How do you end your day? What's baked into your week? Is there deep focused work? Those were all like goals that I had that are that's just how I operate now. And it's really, really cool. So when you can make your goals and you can gain traction on them and repeat them, it just becomes how you act. And now a goal anymore is just a way you operate, and it's very powerful. Okay, so like I'll give you maybe I'll give you a little bit more traction to like some of those SOPs. So some of those standard operating procedures, or like morning routines or evening routines. So for like my goal is I want to be the leanest I've ever been this year. So I'm like probably like 14 or 15% body fat right now. I want to get like 10, 9%. I want to be shredded. Okay. I haven't been shredded since I was like in college. And this like really important for me this year. So I'm like, we're working hard on it. Okay. Like just shredded like Mel. All right. So every morning I do 20 minutes of movement in the morning. And then every night I take a walk with my wife. So I'm moving every single day. I do 1 to 2 mountain bike rides that are cardio sessions for me. And then I take a long walk somewhere once a week, like a pretty long walk. So it's usually in a forest or a city, or it's on a trail or something like that. And then I lift weights 4 to 5 days a week. That's just how I operate. And then I stretch every night. So that's what like I do for like my fitness and like achieving. That's like my operating procedure for how to attain a lower body fat percentage in terms of with my fitness. For example, I'll give you with learning. Learning is like really important for me. It's how I grow as a person. It's how I grow our business. So learning, like every first thing I do every morning when I exercise is I do 20 minutes like of an audiobook. And then I read every single night before I go to bed. I read 20 to 30 minutes technical. So that could be like on nutrition, that could be on training, that could be on anatomy, physiology at night. It's that I'll read that at night, and then I'll read something about like business or personal development in the morning. And then there's obviously stretches where I need focused learning to learn a subject or learn something like that I'll bake in during the week. And then I have mobile university where when I'm traveling in the car, it's mostly always audiobooks. So that's easy way to do 30 to 50 books a year, no problem, just on audiobook. And then what I do is I study 4 to 8 books a year, like in deep detail. And I really try to break them down and deconstruct them and incorporate them into my work and how I see the world. And that's how I learn. And that's standard operating procedure for how I learn. And then I'll give you kind of like last one for work. It used to be hard for me to work because I have all these inputs and get distracted. And now I'm really able to work with full attention. I've got like my place where I work, and I can cut out distractions. There's no email, there's no social media. It's just doing the work I need to do, moving along the projects I need to move on. And so hopefully that's very helpful to you. And yeah, hopefully that's very helpful to you. And I'd be more than happy to take questions. But really, like, let's go back through everything one more time. Everything starts with a vision and a mighty mission and having a purpose. And after that, that's when you can get great traction on your goals. Okay. And then the way you accomplish those goals is having SOPs in your life: morning routine, a night routine, a learning routine, a work routine, how you do your work and how you set up in your structure. That is really the way to get traction on really your goals and your dreams. So I hope, this half-hour session was helpful for you. I've had fun sharing it with you, and I hope it provides great value.
Thank you, Dave. It was cool hearing some of your goals. I really like that for someone who has been helping people achieve amazing transformations for so long. Now it's almost like a bit of a look into the genius mind that's created all of these awesome transformations. So I will open up the floor to questions. I'm going to give everyone some time to start typing those questions in. I had a question for you, Dave. I loved hearing the SOPs. I loved how you really broke down a goal and turned it into just integrating this into your life, because then you don't have to think about it anymore. But I would just love, you mentioned Audible a couple times, and there were a couple of book names. If there is a coach who's like, I'm ready to get at it, I love my Audible, I'm going to do my daily walks, where could they potentially start from a book reading?
Depends what subject.
That's a good answer. That's very very specific, or makes a lot of sense that it should be specific to what they're looking for. What is something, you mentioned Marcus Aurelius's meditations. Is there anything that you pick up on a daily basis, a book that you continue to go back to kind of get inspiration?
Yeah, I read the Bible every day. It's part of, I don't include that into my learning. I mean, it's spiritual learning, but it's really, really cool to read the Word of God and to be. The problem is that I really feel like, and it goes back to Marcus Aurelius, is like on the shortness of life. Everybody, like, we're spiritual beings too. We're mental, emotional. we're not just physical beings, right? And so um, when we have a bad day or have difficulty in our life or have a tragedy that happens, it doesn't make sense in this world. You have to look beyond that, and um, getting in touch with your mental, emotional, spiritual side of your life helps develop you as a whole-rounded person. And I do think if you, that's what I do. You can do anything, but if you're not doing that, you're missing out on um, really developing what it means to live a good life. And yeah, so that's something I read, every day.
That's great. Really good. We'll still continue to hold some space for some questions. When it comes to the morning and PM routines, it's obviously something that's incredibly important. And I'm imagining that there are a lot of strength coaches on the call that are likely beginning their day very early in the morning. What would your suggestion be to somebody who has a really busy schedule and maybe the story they're telling themselves is, I don't actually have time to carve out an hour to do these things?
Yeah. So like if I'm usually 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. Um, it's I didn't do it for a long time, and I'm not a morning person, but I've just become a morning person. It's like, again, built in. But if you don't take, like, let's say you're somebody who just wakes up and starts training people, I think you're missing out on being the best version of yourself. I would at least get up, eat breakfast, and maybe it's just sitting in silence. But it's for the best thing that you could do is probably eat breakfast. I like usually I'll do some kind of work. Sometimes I don't work out. I just go outside, even if it's 0 degrees out in Michigan. But I try to be outside and breathe fresh air for 20 minutes and take a walk. That would be like something that I would do. So
That's
um,
great.
yeah, but if maybe it's not in the morning, I would at least have a half hour in silence. Maybe it's just cooking breakfast, and then maybe it's at lunchtime where you take more time or something like that to read. But I'm a big, big, big fan that you have to have a night routine to go to sleep and to shut your brain off.
Yeah, that doesn't involve television or Netflix.
No.
So we do have some questions. I will start to ask these, and then we'll see how many we can get through. There's some really good ones here. So a question actually regarding your staff, and we mentioned this in your bio. Mecca now has over 40 staff members, and I'm sure that has grown since that bio was written. Does your staff walk through this process too, this SOP process too, or how do you walk your team and staff through this so that everyone is on the same page with your vision?
Yeah, we have about 65 team members now, so it's quite a lot. So we have a onboarding process that takes 6 months. They're taking clients before that, but the first leg of the onboarding process is 6 months, and it's very intensive. So there is the first 3 months. There's about 20 hours a week devoted to our onboarding process. So
Amazing.
yeah.
So you put the time in beforehand to make sure that that person is going to really be a part of what is a family at Mecca.
Yeah, I mean, it's your work family, and everybody has different goals, dreams, and aspirations for what they want to do. But for us, it's really delivering a high quality product that is in for us, like, people aren't good, like, typically speaking, most people aren't good trainers until like for the first year. But it used to take us 3 years to get them to where it takes us a year now. And our standards are, like, I was just talking to our head of education, and um, there's 2 people that really run it, and they were both saying it's like our standards are just so high. Even people that have come from outside the industry or have worked in the industry, it's kind of hard for them to get there, just because they have preconceived notions, where sometimes if you have to drop those in order to really, you kind of have to unlearn sometimes some bad habits. We all have them, But it's easier to start when you don't know what you don't know. So.
That's right. I remember something that was, I actually asked you this question, and I'm going to get to another question in a moment, but it was really impactful, and I always remember it. And I said, Dave, when you hire, do you hire for experience or do you hire for personality? And you didn't even take a breath and you said personality. And I just thought that that answer was really great, because you're modeling just such an amazing, give such a great knowledge base, and you're producing really phenomenal coaches.
Yeah, just great people. It's all about core values. So like I just shared with you, like basically core values to me, but we have core values for our company, and we hire on the core values. We promote on the core values. We give raises on the core values. Everything revolves around core values and how do they, because a business is it's kind of its own life force. It's its own entity, and everybody has to be on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, it really disrupts, so we kind of have our own lingo in our company. We have a lot of our own things that are the way we speak, the way we talk, the way you handle an issue is a certain way. So everything has to, yeah. And if you don't have those core values, it's going to be really hard for you to integrate yourself into the. So it's like, are a hard worker? Do you care about other people? Some people, it's not important for them, so we just can't. You're just gonna be working with other people, so yeah.
Absolutely. A question from Ryan regarding business development and actually finding a business mentor. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I've had quite a few. Some are good, some are not good. It really depends on where you're at in your business. Like I would say business mentors are mostly useless until you get, if it you can have like somebody help you to develop like a personal development person, kind of like a life coach, but they get a bad rap. Some people that's really helpful for if you can find somebody good. Most business coaches are not worth their weight, and I've gone through quite a few. The problem is with a business coach is you just have to be to a certain level, if that makes, for them to even help you, because they're waste your time and your money. I hired a business coach when I had 5 employees, and it was a complete like waste of money, waste of time. The first couple actually I hired, and part of it was just because I wasn't ready to make the changes, and I hadn't done enough work to get myself to the point where they were going to actually give me advice that was going to help me, especially for what I was paying them. So the advice I get, I have a couple business coaches right now. One, and basically a lot of it's strategy oriented. So, and there's with the more you are in business, the more you have to deal with things like legal that you never thought you'd ever have to deal with, but just like patents and intellectual property and systems and all, yeah, like just crazy stuff like that. Trademarks, like so
You're
stuff
like, I never knew.
yeah. So stuff like that. But strategy, so that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I guess similar even to the book question, it's like your resource is going to be largely dependent on where you're at, what you're looking to achieve, and what your business model, in fact, looks like.
Yeah, just have Ryan send me just send me a personal message, and just give me a little bit where you're at. Like I don't have the screen, but like just if you have my contact information, either email, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, send me a personal message, and I could see where you're, like, just tell me a little bit about where you're at, and I'll try to get you to somebody. So
That actually is an amazing segue to the last question that I was going to ask, which I know we've had many questions on this, And that is, you know, as a coach, there was a question that came in, someone specifically who's an international coach, but let's just open it up because we are fortunate enough to live in a world where we are highly connected. How would a coach listening to this who wants to pick your brain or perhaps run some things by you get in touch? And then I can go ahead and add some of those social handles in the chat box for those that are on the call.
Yeah, just send me a message through Instagram. I haven't been, if I can help you, I'll help you. So yeah.
And the Instagram handle is D Lawrence.
Yeah, I think it's like David Lawrence SC or something like that. But I think you guys tagged me, like you guys tagged me on the thing. So
yeah, you bet. I would also suggest anyone interested. This is not the first masterclass that David has done. He has done a previous masterclass in one of our earlier series, which was fantastic. And you can go ahead and get to the designsforsport.com website and connect with us, and we would happily facilitate an introduction. So I went ahead and added in the chat box the Instagram handle for David personally, but then of course at Designs for Sport, we have our team who would be able to direct you and help. And I also added that to the chat box just now. So if you're not following us, definitely do that. We'll help you stay connected. With that being said, we are 2 minutes to the hour, and like I always say to all of the coaches and people who have attended, your time is valuable, as David mentioned, and we appreciate you sharing some of that time because it really does speak volumes, and we love to create these conversations and facilitate these intros. So to all of those who attended, thank you so much. To those catching the replay, we appreciate you as well. And of course, David, as always, thank you for sharing some of your insight, some of your challenges. I know you're going to be shredded by the end of the year. I have supreme confidence in that.
Face you. Let's go.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone who attended, and we will catch you on the next one.